Japanese tea ceremony core values are harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. What would it be like to truly live by those values, I wondered. Then I learned about Hannah and how she used natural dyes gathered in the field and woods near her home to make hats and woven hangings. Such wonderful colors, sometimes bold, sometimes soft and subtle. They spoke of the fields, flowers, and forests. "We are there for you," they said. "Are you there for us?"
What I'm going to do is make 28 little skeins this size out of the white. These will be the fiber that goes into the dye vats. Yeah, and then that comes off. Yeah, you can really see the sheen when it's full, wrapped up like that in this light. Yeah, so that's one of 28 colors that we're going to be, or blanks that we'll be coloring with different dye materials. So many steps in all of this. So there's like you've seen a bit of it, and then but there's like the making the dye and the dyeing the yarn and the starting to weave and the whatever. So this is the dye. You don't have to dry it to get the dye out of it, but it's the best way to preserve it. And this I have more of this dried already, and I will add this to that stash. So it's just kind of the way I preserve it to, build up a quantity. And I actually dry it and then put it in the freezer also so that it stays. I was thinking of trying to work with them like what's in season, but also a little bit with like traditional knowledge of the moon phases, and like in new moons maybe working with like the roots and the mushrooms and like the earthier, darker materials from their characters, and then move into leaves and then flowers, like moving up into the light and then moving back into the dark. So the colors that they produce might not be like the dark to the light, but I think there'll be a real blend, but there'll be a reason of the actual dye being's story in there. Yeah. So the sheep live in Vermont and the milling is in New Hampshire. So I'm going to use the 3 natural shades and tone them into each other. Exactly. Yeah. So those are going to be the like the moon phase representation shades along the edges.
That's such a neat concept.
I don't know anything special about the moon or have a connection there so much as I just thought this piece would be an opportunity to align myself a bit with that cycle and that element of nature. I mean, I think it was more just sort of wanting to pay attention more to that aspect of the calendar and what was going on each day of that moon cycle. So, and I think that it did that for me. I was definitely more aware through the course of these 31 days, where the moon was in the sky, first of all, and, if I could see it or if I couldn't, what the weather was like, if it was cloudy, and then, how the landscape changed over the course of those 31 days. This was 2023. It started in the middle of September and went till the middle of October. And so in the middle of September, it's just the harvest is so plentiful, and there's so much fruiting, flowering at the peak of growth. The full moon was, right around October 1st, the first week of October, I think. And that was like the yellows that are represented in the full moon phase of the piece are kind of the tail end of those autumn flowers. So there's goldenrod, and I used like yarrow and jewelweed in that phase. So that was kind of the tail end of flowers being available as dye sources. Are put together chronologically. If you see the book, there's each color band is a day, and each of those dye species is described in the book. Like I either harvested it on that day or worked with it on that day. Almost all of them are dye organisms that I harvested on that day of the moon cycle. From new moon to new moon, the very center is the full moon. Yeah. It's a calendar in and of itself, like a calendar of a type that it's not a logical, rational, square calendar, but it's a calendar of color. You know, the image is sort of meant to evoke, it's not very literal, but the reflection of the moon in water. So that's why the wiggly edges. Yeah. I wanted to keep the bands distinct just so that it was like you did see where each day and night was different. Like it is representing days. The moon has really informed cultures throughout history, indigenous cultures. And so I was just really interested in aligning myself with that for a month. I think that was the perfect moon cycle to try to do this in. And so in this drainage here, there's actually some plants that are, well, the trees, the willows and the alders both make dye. So those will be two I'll probably work with. Like, so with trees, you can use different parts. You can use the leaves, you can use the bark. With the alders, you can use the cones and the catkins. So you actually can get different colors with different parts of the tree. Also, that's an alder that has the rounder. They don't grow very big. They're shrubs. They grow in water or near water. So they have, the cones are starting. This one has cones and catkins on it here. So these are the cones, which are the female, like the seeds. And so they have a lot of tannin also. You can make a beautiful dark color with a dye made from these, and then plus some iron. And then this is the catkins. These are this year's catkins. So those are the male flowers. So the catkins can make almost a chartreuse color. Yeah, here they are next to each other, catkin and cone. So you don't get a lot of color from sumac, but if you combine it with some iron, you get a dark, like purpley gray, which is also good for dyeing. They have tannins in the leaves. So you can use iron to interact with the tannin to get a dark color. Yeah. With the tree parts, I would want to collect it the day that I'm making the dye from it. I don't want to dry it or, hoard it. And I tend to gather really small amounts that I need. Like, I don't want to be gathering more than I need because the trees need it. I mean, these are great trees. This is how the tree reproduces, through these cones and catkins. So I would just borrow the minimum that I need to make a dye from. This is wild madder root, or it's a type of bed straw, and the botanical name is Gallium malugo. A non-native plant, but it's very, very happy here. And the roots make an amazing red dye. So you can find larger pieces, but it's not that much larger. And you can see in the core of the root, it's quite, it looks more orange than red right here. And it does make an orangey red. And I usually dig this late in the fall, like November or so, but I think it'll be one of the last ones that I do. The wild madder, it's a wildflower, but it's the root that I'm using. And goldenrod, so goldenrod is a wonderful dye, such a sunny, wonderful yellow. And there's like 30 different varieties of goldenrod also. Like this might be Canada goldenrod. There's one that grows in the woods that's called blue stem. And there's one that has like round flower clumps instead of the elongated ones. And very color fast as well. super fun summery sunny yellow. These are different types of lichen. So this one you could make it just right. This is common green shield, which you could boil in water and make kind of a yellowish beige dye out of, which I might use. This is a fun find. Do you guys know lobster mushrooms?
Oh, they are very colorful.
Yeah, so this guy's both edible and a dyer, and I think it's maybe the only one that I'm aware of.
What's the name of it?
Lobster mushroom, or it's Hypomyces lactiflorum. Like I can pick that and bring it back and kind of show you. And then this fungal parasite grew this red skin around it, and the red skin is what is the dye material. You can shave it off with a knife. It will actually regrow, so you can kind of keep perpetuating the dye if you pick one of those. There's another one popping up there. It starts to go towards pink and purple when it gets older.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going shopping at a store and you're just getting an amount that you need for a project. It's like you're going out here and you're working with what is available.
I always think there might be a situation where you're not going to touch the mushrooms because you want to let them to get bigger or bigger clump because they're not big enough to do anything with yet. But maybe that's
there's all kinds of decision-making processes like that, for sure. Like, I've been collecting a lot of red-gilled quartz this year, which are a mushroom that's a red dyer, and they're very plentiful this year. Not in this particular woods, but in another spot. So, like, I've been actually collecting quite a lot, but in other years when they're not plentiful, I won't touch them. Yeah, no, the foraging mindset, there's a lot of decision making that goes on. So here's a beautiful one. Right here. This would be a really good one to harvest. So they make different colors depending on their age when you harvest them. So this one, when it's still, the yellow is the active growth. Like the concept for one of the other...
Chocolate pudding inside.
Yeah. But, so this is like the growing edges with the actively multiplying cells, and it actually will make a brighter yellow color when you pick them when they still have that going on.
How about when they're very young and yellow and fuzzy?
Brighter, like lemon yellow color, and then if you wait until they're completely brown all around, you might get like a muddier brown or yellow. You can see the underside of these is this like
fuzzy
olive, pore surface. Yeah. Oh, see, there's one over there that's still brown, but that's still this year's. Yeah, but this one's finished growing. You don't see the yellow edges anymore. Like there's the younger and the older.
Look at my blog post that shows the growth from very young and fuzzy all the way through.
These are all dyes. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
The indigo was a fresh leaf, was just, like in a blender.
Oh, really?
It's kind of one way that you can work with indigo real quickly.
I see.
Right when it's fresh and harvest. So those leaves were picked that day, popped in a blender, and the yarn was blue, like all within 15 minutes. by the end of the moon cycle, I wasn't sure like what I was gonna like what's left for me to use here, because it was getting, you know, it had frosted a couple of times. We're middle of October,
Right.
and I was like still dedicated to find like each day being something. So
Unique.
the last few, there's like the brown one at the bottom is from some like marigold flowers that I had dried. So I was using preserved dye stuffs, and then I used an iron afterbath because I didn't want it to be bright yellow at the bottom there. So that was like a design choice to tone down the marigolds. Last one was oak bits, like oak galls, acorn caps, and really nice kind of ending to it. And yeah, it just felt like of the season to, you know, have these dried tree bits, and in a particular forest that I'm currently working to conserve. So yeah, I was actually taking a walk more for the purposes of documenting some aspects of that land, and you know, I was like, oak galls, let me. Yeah, so that was oak galls and acorn caps for that last color. Yeah. There's a chaga growing out of this black birch here. This is a medicinal fungi right here. You can make tea out of it.
Wow.
Have you ever had chaga, Kathleen? We could make some tea. We could make some tea out of it later if you want to have it. It's really healthy. It's actually supposed to be a wonderful tonic for digestive systems, and I believe it's used in both Japan and Russia as like a cure for intestinal, stomach cancers and such.
This chaga tea is quite soothing and nice.
Isn't it lovely? Yeah. It's just, it tastes like the forest, I think, in a nice, sweet way. Yeah. So obviously I love this land that I'm lucky enough to live in. I mean, I do really consider that this is the privilege that I get to live here and have made the choice to live here instead of in a city. Even know such a place exists because I grew up in this kind of setting, not in this town, but in another town in Vermont. So, you know, I feel like there's all of that, you know, good luck pointing me in this direction, and how much land has been developed and extracted in ways that aren't super sustainable or ethical. And I mean, change is a given. Things are going to change, but I just feel like at this moment in time, like being really conscious about land use and protecting a lot of our intact ecosystems for the sake of all of these more than human beings that we live with is really important. I mean, I feel like that's the most important thing I can be doing right now. So I formed a nonprofit organization with some neighbors, and we've been working to acquire and put conservation easements on land, mostly in this watershed. But we collaborate with a few other conservation organizations now, so we're really starting to look more region-wide, like southeastern Vermont. Kids are using the community forest now too. The elementary school kids from the combined local elementary school have created a little like outdoor classroom area. We're doing a little bit of restoration work on land that's been heavily logged. In that case, we're not planting anything, but we're going to be protecting some seedlings so that the deer don't chew them down. Protecting them from development and extraction is the main part. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. There's the reasons of us loving the land, and then there's much more like scientifically documented reasons for, you know, what we need to do to respond to and to start mitigating climate change. And so I feel like the conservation work, it really moves like in that whole spectrum. It's very personal for me. And then it's also a way I can contribute to this much, much larger issue that humanity is facing. We're making slow progress, but it feels, I mean, it's a tremendous amount of work. And it's honestly, it's like a lot of admin work. Like I'm writing grants and making phone calls and, you know, on the computer and interacting with various people and partners and putting together work plans and yeah, so there's a lot of that. And then you know, there's also like there's one piece of land that we own and we've created a community forest, and so there's like that interacting with the community and leading walks. And I mean, we try to have like these conversations over tea. We host conversations on the land and chat with our neighbors and talk about, you know, learn about the land and also sort of talk about, you know, how we give back and, you know, about our conservation efforts. And this is the Bull Creek, and we're working in the Bull Creek watershed, which floods. Like this Bull Creek has come up all around the base of this building, and we're getting more and more of those events like every year or so now. Yeah, because it's so special to have undeveloped land. I mean, it's special for people, and it's important for, right, the ecosystem itself has its own innate importance. And even like decentering the human and making sure that for the land's sake, that it is taken care of, because it's important for everything to have undisturbed parcels of land that can do what they need to do.
Stillness and quiet can be very useful. Actual quiet, as well as internal stillness, the kind that can be called upon when needed. With so much demanding our attention these days, we can forget their value. In times of great stress, rest is critical. We need stillness to even begin to understand what really matters to us. When I first experienced Hannah's world in southern Vermont, harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility just glowed in the slanting sunlight there. The buzzing greenness, sound of flowing water, and the small buildings all had a rightness to them. I felt the same centering peace that I feel after Japanese tea ceremony practice. It was such a joy to realize I would actually get to meet the person who lived in this special place. Hannah told us that the waters in the stream behind her studio could rise up quite high around the buildings in the spring. That, too, seemed just right. It was clearly intentional. This kind of thing does not just happen on its own. I also felt the Japanese tea ceremony values of harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility in Hannah's conservation work, her sharing of the love of the forest with groups of children, and the joy she took in the dye beings who contributed their colors to the art now hanging in my tea hut. Tea ceremony provides instruction in the art of living. Honoring tea ceremony's core values of harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility can help us to cultivate stillness, meaning, and joyful centering peace, not apart from, but right in the midst of our messy, stressful lives.